Sir, it was more than a reconnaissance journey to discover the origins of the people. They already knew the origins of the people. They were specifically looking for the Hebrews. They were also looking for the Garden of Eden. And in fact, the Queen of England, who was running things, actually sent them on this mission to find gold, any other sorts of resources. I mean, to scout out the land. In fact, the Queen of England called the Americas God's country, the land that is full of God's good blessings. They already had a goal. Why else would they say that land is full of God's good blessings? They knew that it was full of resources. And Christopher Columbus knew exactly what he was doing. Why else would he bring a Hebrew with him, a Hebrew-speaking person with him? In fact, this is his first journey to the Americas. He brought a Levite, someone from the tribe of Levi, an Israelite, a Hebrew, with him on the first journey. So they knew exactly what they were doing. They already had a goal in mind of what they were going to do, besides looking for resources. On the third journey, he brought 1,500 people with him. Soldiers, sailors, priests, carpenters, stonemasons, metalworkers, and farmers, etc., etc. So why would he bring soldiers with him on his third mission? They were coming to conquer the Hebrews. They were coming to steal some land. Why else would they bring carpenters and stonemakers and metalworkers? They were trying to set up camp in my people's land, in my ancestors' land. So on August 17, 1498, they made their way west and north from the coast of South America near Trinidad. And so they had been going to the same area for like a couple of weeks straight. And they finally realized that they were at the Garden of Eden. How did he realize that he was at the Garden of Eden? Christopher Columbus and his boys were in search of all of the riches, the minerals that were mentioned in the book of Genesis, chapter 2. So that was their guide. Also the 4 rivers that would come out of the Garden of Eden. They found that as well. You see, it was full of gold and bdellium and onyx. In fact, Genesis 2 talks about how every type of tree, herb, and vegetation that is good for the sight and also good for food could be found there. And that's how they knew that they were in the right place. You see here, he called it the terrestrial paradise. Here, it's talking about how the landscape was unspoiled. There was an innocent prelapsarian people that were there, meaning that the people were just innocent. They were just living life. They were enjoying life. They were minding their own business. They weren't destroying the earth. They were taking care of it as they should. And then, of course, that all changed when the colonizers came. Now the earth is polluted. It's destroyed. You know what the condition of the earth is like now. You can actually visit the Garden of Eden, Florida. Yes, we were talking about Trinidad, but you have to keep in mind that it wasn't small. We're talking about 4 rivers that were there, a whole entire forest. It wasn't a small area of land. Also, not too far from that area is actually where Noah was and where he built the ark. Genesis 6:14 told Noah, build it out of gopher wood. But the point is there gopher wood in Africa? This is what the beautiful gopher wood tree looks like. And guess where it's grown? The only place in the world where gopher wood is grown is in Florida, United States of America. It's not grown in modern day Africa, anywhere. Recently, they started growing it, I think, in Georgia, but it has always been home to Florida, the Torreya tree. You already know. If the Garden of Eden was found in the United States, the gopher wood tree that Noah was instructed to build the ark out of was found in the United States. And if 10 of the 12 tribes of Israel are in the United States and the majority of the Hebrew DNA is in America, the Americas, what does that tell you? That tells you that the slave trade was told in reverse, and that tells you that the people who have the same DNA as those of us in America, they came from America. Which is why they're always pointing everybody over to modern day Africa. That's why they're trying to make my people think that we are Africans, and they're trying to ship us over to Africa or get us to move to Africa in hopes of finding more about who we are, when who we are is right in America. Why else do you think they finally lumped my people in with Africans? Prior to the 1980s, or they started getting us ready in the 1970s to be called Africans, or to change our identity to African. But prior to that, there was nothing African in our name or our identity. Nothing whatsoever. So they were grooming us and getting us ready to be considered as Africans. So a lot of people accepted it. My grandmother told me straight up that I was a Hebrew. My grandmother, she spoke fluent Hebrew. Some of us had that knowledge of who we are passed down to us. So all of us were not buying that. That's why Africans don't realize how annoying they are. They're still pushing the false colonizer narrative of who my people are. When they're telling us that we come from Africa when we don't. Or when they say, oh, they don't know who they are. Oh, we know who the hell we are. You don't know our history, and you don't realize that we were not allowed to claim our identity. If we were unalived. They put us 6 feet under. You know, it's so annoying. And then they want to act like they know more about us than we know about ourselves. Like, stop. Listen to what people have to say about who they are. Like, stop acting like you know everything. You don't know us. Get down off of your high horse. Stop thinking that you're better, and take the time to listen to us tell you exactly who we are. And I promise you, we will get along a lot better.